Okay, so you know how it is sometimes you want to like stay up on things and get to the point without like reading a whole book.
Right.
And like today we're going to really like deep dive into all the like chatter around JoJo Siwa and like all this online talk about her like changing image and like her new music.
Yeah, you sent me this pretty interesting YouTube video called JoJo Siwa Just Got Even Worse by a guy named Curtis Price. And, I mean, our goal here isn't to decide if he's right or wrong or anything.
Right.
But just try to understand, like, what he's saying and, like, why he's saying it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what are his main points and what do they tell us about, like, the whole situation?
Yeah, so like right off the bat in the video, he's talking about like what he's seen on her social media. And he mentions like pictures of her being like naked.
Okay.
And these like bizarre TikToks that she's been posting.
Okay.
And one where she's like making a poo face. And it just seems like from the very beginning.
Yeah.
He's just like in shock and disbelief.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that even before like the big announcements or whatever,
Right.
he's already like reacting so strongly just to like her basic social media posts.
Really, yeah.
Like it really shows you how much attention people are paying to her online.
Yeah.
And how that like sets the tone for how they view her.
Yeah. And then he keeps mentioning this date, March 22nd.
Okay.
It seems like super important to him. He points out that she changed her bio on TikTok and Instagram and has a new profile picture with a new look. And he's convinced that a new music video is coming out that day.
Oh, okay.
He's even being all sarcastic about everyone being busy that day and joking about hiding under his bed because JoJo's back.
I mean, that's pretty funny, but it also shows how much he dislikes the direction she's going in.
Yeah, totally.
The fact that he's like gathering all these online clues, like the bio changes the new picture.
Right.
To predict the music video release, it shows how closely people are watching her every move.
Yeah, he even has like a ton of opinions about her last music video. He calls it great, super sarcastically, and then goes on and on about this brutal fight scene where he says she was like dancing on bears and licking people's necks and sculling people.
Whoa.
Sounds like way over the top from his description.
It does, but it's interesting how much detail he remembers about it.
Right.
He mentions all these really specific things, like the tongue across the neck during the fight.
Oh, yeah.
Someone getting clapped from behind.
I remember that.
Her sculling someone on set. And even shooting a pink orb at someone's like, it's like he's listing all these things to prove how bizarre and maybe inappropriate the content is getting.
Yeah, and then he goes even further, like joking about what might be next.
What do you mean?
Like saying her future video could have like a sword fight where she impales someone with a special sword.
That's a little dark.
Right. It's clear that he thought the last one was way out there and is expecting more of the same.
I think he's using exaggeration to emphasize his point, you know? Like he's taking what he saw as extreme in the last video and pushing it to an absurd level to criticize her creative choices. It's like he's asking, if this is where we're headed, where does it end?
Then he shifts gears and starts talking about her recent social media posts.
Okay.
And he describes her posting these like pictures of herself half naked and even compares it to like the end time. He also brings up this old thing where she supposedly wore like a stone bowl.
Okay.
Which leads him to make this really crude joke about her maybe having a penis.
Wow. It's pretty unfortunate how much focus there is on her body and what she wears. Yeah. I mean, it's not uncommon to see people scrutinizing female artists like this.
Right.
And bringing up that old stone bulge thing shows that this isn't a new issue for him. Yeah. It feels like it's feeding into how he sees her now.
He describes these new pictures as having like a grandma's tablecloth and showing a little side breast.
Interesting.
And he points out that the caption was effeminate.
I saw that.
Obviously meaning phenomenon. And that she linked the post to International Women's Day, which he found pretty ironic, considering the image.
It definitely shows how differently people can interpret things.
Yeah.
What she might see as like confidence or embracing different parts of being a woman.
Right.
He sees as the opposite of what International Women's Day is about.
Totally.
Shows how subjective these things can be and how much our own values shape our views.
Totally. And the misspelling doesn't help.
Yeah.
He even mentions some negative comments that people supposedly posted, like people worried about an OnlyFans account.
Oh, wow.
And people saying they were scared by the pictures.
Okay.
He also talks about other photos that weren't published, including one of her squatting and another where she's like crawling.
By including those things, he's trying to show that he's not the only one who feels this way.
Yeah.
Like, he's suggesting that a lot of people are uncomfortable with what she's doing.
Yeah.
And the unpublished photos add to the speculation and mystery. Like, what else is she hiding? It reinforces the idea that her online presence is causing a lot of negative reactions.
Then he comes back to the March 22nd announcement. calling it the launch of a brand new Damore.
Which probably mean like a new era or release.
Yeah, and then he just roasts her new outfit.
Oh, no.
Comparing it to something from Harry Potter, like a goalpost from the Quidditch matches.
Ouch. I mean, I think he's using those ridiculous comparisons
to
make fun of her new look.
Totally.
And make his disapproval really obvious.
And then he mentions that she, like, twerked in the reveal video. And his reaction is so extreme.
What does he say?
He's practically begging for it to stop.
Really?
Saying he needs a respawn button.
I mean, that seems like a huge overreaction to something so small.
It does.
But it really shows how much he hates her trying to be sexy or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, even a small thing, like a twerk, is proof to him that she's going in a direction he doesn't like.
Right. And that leads him to this whole point about her trying too hard to seem grown up. He says that real maturity doesn't need to be constantly proven.
Right.
And he brings up examples of what he sees as forced grown-up behavior.
Like what?
Like the sexual stuff in her videos, drinking on stage, getting drunk at Disneyland.
Oh, wow.
And even the twerk.
His main issue seems to be that she's not being authentic.
Totally.
Like he thinks she's forcing this new image instead of letting it happen naturally.
Yeah.
The examples he gives make it seem like she's desperately trying to change who she is.
Yeah. He just rips on her song Karma.
Oh, yeah.
Saying it was supposedly the most disliked music video of 2024.
Oh, no.
With like 3.1 million dislikes.
Wow.
He's super sarcastic about her maybe being proud of that.
Right.
And just says that her whole fucking transition is trying too hard.
That's pretty brutal.
It is.
But it sums up his entire critique.
Totally.
By bringing up the dislike number, he's trying to show that a lot of people agree with him.
Yeah.
And the trying too hard comment ties back to everything he said about her being fake.
And then things get kind of meta.
What do you mean?
He talks about this plan for people to just ignore JoJo.
Oh, right.
And thinks it might have been working.
Uh-huh.
But then JoJo responded to it on TikTok, and he calls her response comedy gold.
It's interesting when an artist responds to something like that.
Yeah.
It means they're paying attention to the negative stuff online.
Yeah.
And maybe trying to take control of the situation.
Exactly. He quotes her TikTok directly, saying things like, "Get over it already. You guys suck."
Whoa.
I'm JoJo Siwa. I got a bean. What's up, motherfuckers? And karma's a bitch. You should have known better.
That's not very kid-friendly.
Not at all. And the commentator criticizes her voice, calling it raspy and forced.
Okay.
He thinks it's all rage bait content to get attention, even if it's negative.
Right. The whole rage bait idea is pretty common online.
Yeah.
It's the idea that any publicity is good publicity.
Totally. And she even commented on her own voice in another TikTok.
Which just adds fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
Like, it makes it seem more intentional.
Apparently, she also made a new karma dance.
Oh, really?
He describes the old one as having an arm movement and something else, and says the new one is better, but not great. But he doesn't think anyone cares about the dancing.
It seems like the focus has shifted away from her music and dancing.
Totally.
And more towards her image and what she's doing online.
Yeah.
The fact that the dance is barely mentioned shows that the controversy and her rebranding are what people are talking about.
And then he gets to the lyrics of her song Iced Coffee and completely loses it. He fixates on this one line, like the way you're grinding my bean.
Okay.
And his reaction is just so over the top.
What does he say?
He's sarcastic about it taking 3 years to write the song and even wonders if she stole it from Sabrina Carpenter.
Wow.
And she reposted the TikTok that pointed out the lyrics.
So she knows what people are saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, one little phrase can become a huge deal.
It's crazy.
Especially if it seems inappropriate or goes against the artist's image.
Right. And the fact that she reposted it means she either doesn't care, finds it funny, or is trying to stir up more drama. Then he dives into the first verse, quoting, "Wake up in the morning, let's go. You can flip me over like a fresh pillow. We'd be underneath the sheets getting sweet and low.
Okay.
And I'd be getting Lucky Charms when I taste your rainbow."
Oh!
He thinks it's all super sexual.
I mean, for someone who knows JoJo from her kids' TV days and her old music,
Right.
these lyrics are a huge change.
Totally.
The imagery is way more direct and it clashes with her old image.
Yeah.
Which is probably why people are reacting so strongly.
He keeps going, quoting more lyrics like, "Make a drip. Oh, fucking hell, I can't function without you. I'd be nothing without you," which he connects to her breakup. And then he gets to what he calls the horrifying bit.
Oh, no.
French pressed up against my chest, or
Yeah.
wee wee, if you know what I mean. And you know what I need? Like the way you grinded my bean.
He does not like that line.
Not at all. He says he's on the verge of death.
Wow.
and he thinks the song is repetitive.
I think those lines are so shocking to him because they're so direct and use slang that some people find vulgar.
Right.
Especially coming from someone who used to be a kid star.
Yeah, the mix of the childish wee-wee with the sexual grinding my bean is probably what makes it so weird. Then he basically asks if she can even make a song without being sexual.
Okay.
And talked about her sarcastic TikTok response to the grinding my bean lyric again.
Right.
Saying it shortened his lifespan.
He's really laying it on thick.
He is. And he makes sure to point out that bean is slang for a private part.
By focusing on that one word, he's highlighting what he sees as the problem.
Totally.
Like he's saying this is what's wrong with her music.
And finally, he brings up her old comment about having big dick energy.
Right.
And concludes that she's just walking cringe.
Ouch. That's hard.
He ends by asking if people agree and saying he's cooler than JoJo.
I mean, those are some strong closing statements.
They are.
He's clearly not a fan of her new image or music.
Not at all.
By asking for agreement and saying he's cooler than her, he's putting himself in direct opposition to her.
So basically, this whole deep dive into Curtis Price's commentary shows that he really dislikes JoJo's new image and thinks she's trying way too hard to be someone she's not.
Exactly. He thinks her music and social media are just cringy and inauthentic.
Right. But it's important to remember that this is just one person's opinion.
Totally. It's just a small piece of a much bigger conversation happening online.
And that brings us to our final thought for you all to consider.
Okay.
When artists like JoJo change their image so drastically, especially after being known for something completely different,
right?
What are the long-term consequences? And how do these online comments shape public perception?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Of course.
It's been a wild one.
It has.
See you next time.